Will Still has gone. He's been sacked.
The top brass at Norwich are very lucky to still be in jobs.
They are on Betfred now, 20-1 to go down.
Come on! Oh my God!
It's chaos off the pitch and it's chaos on the pitch.
Frank Lampard leaves Coventry to go to Southampton.
I'm going to call it, Simon.
I will eat. Hello guys, welcome back to The Sportsman Untitled, brought to you by Betfred. I'm delighted to be joined by Conor McGilligan and Gab Sutton for today's episode. And Gab, big news from the Championship this weekend. Will Still has gone. He's been sacked at Southampton. A dismal start to the season, wasn't it? And it wasn't a surprise to see him go.
Yeah, they've been miles off it. I think Sport Republic made no secret that promotion was their ambition. I think you'd maybe question whether Sport Republic have got their recruitment right. I think that's 2 summers now where they've fallen wide of the mark in that area. You'd probably say, from my point of view, maybe only Jander in midfield has really stood out. I feel for Will Still because I think he's clearly a very talented technical coach. I do wonder whether, with his skill set, you maybe need an assistant that's a bit more of a charismatic motivator type to kind of balance his main qualities. And I don't know whether Paul Trollope, another experienced coach with good credentials in his own right, whether they quite got the balance right. I think Southampton created lots of chances, but a little bit flaky defensively, and maybe a lack of adaptability in there as well, because I know Southampton fans were often calling for flipping to a back four. He stuck with the back three up until very recently, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got it noted down that they've won 4 games in 51 league matches since winning the playoff final against Leeds. It's just been bad decision after bad decision, it seems.
Yeah, I do have to call out the players a little bit though. And it feels like, do they need almost a bit of a disciplinarian in charge? But then Nathan Jones was that. That didn't quite work out. And we can see what he's done now with Charlton. I think Will Still will go on to have a very decent career still. But I think there's been a mass XG created. They're third in the division at this moment in time. I don't think the numbers lie. I think Archer and I think Armstrong have been pitiful in front of goal. Yeah. I think there's been problems throughout the relegated sides in terms of these players actually stepping up. It's very easy in the border. Obviously, 3 losses on the bounce. They're going to naturally, look at the manager. I completely understand that. But where do the players take some accountability in this with these relegated sides? And Southampton, with the calibre and quality, and with no disrespect, Heckingbottom's doing a fantastic job at Preston, and we can get into that, of course. I'm staggered it's gone this poorly for Southampton. And I think there are deeper issues with Sport Republic, 100%. And you kind of look at Southampton now, there's obviously going to be, you think there's going to be an upward curve, really, if a new manager comes in. I don't know who'd want to touch that job at the minute, though. No,
it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we look at the stats, we look at the XG you mentioned. Yeah. He on the statistical front of things, wasn't doing a bad job. But the game and the home defeat against Preston was kind of a microcosm of the season we've seen so far, Gab. They probably had the better chances. They were probably the better team for the majority of the game, but they couldn't find the win. And how long do you have to give that before you make the decision to sack him? They've gone for 13 games. Is that the right decision now for you?
I can see why they have made that decision, especially if they want to make something of this season. So it depends how you look at it. If you look at it in terms of, could Will Still have been a success at Southampton over multiple seasons? I still think he could, in the right circumstances, maybe with the right configuration in the coaching setup, maybe with better finishing. But I can also see Sport Republic's point of view in terms of wanting to make the change. But I do think you have to ask big questions of the ownership regime now, because that's a few appointments that haven't worked.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll go through them. Nathan Jones, Russell Martin, Ivan Juric and Will Still now appointed by Sport Republic. Only one of them's won more than 5 games. Is this a deeper problem then at Southampton, where the people running the club are making the wrong appointments?
I think Gab was spot on as well when he was talking about recruitment in the summer. I'm not sure that was good enough. I think there's a few profiles there.
But the squad's good enough.
Adam
Armstrong, Cameron Archer, and they're creating all these chances.
100%. You look at Downs in the midfield as well.
Shay Charles. Yeah. This is such a good squad.
It is. It's a very good squad. This is where it's really, really difficult, I think, especially when the stats back it up to a certain level of which we're talking about, especially creatively, to put the full blame on Will Still. And I kind of look at it there, and we just mentioned recruitment, of course, in the summer. Maybe it's not what was specifically needed, but the calibre of the team. it's not only is it good, but it's proven in the Championship as well. You know, the line being led by Adam Armstrong and Cameron Archer. We were all talking at the beginning of the season. This is potent in the Championship. This is where it's really difficult to really put your finger on the problem. I mean, you know, there's a lot of managers who have been linked now. Maybe Michael Carrick coming in, gets fellows in the side. You know, Manning's almost a perfect left back for a Carrick system, really, isn't he?
With a Zaz at Middlesbrough.
With a Zaz, it's perfect there as well. I think that would be a decent appointment, but are the players going to respond to that? And that's what it feels right now. I think it's really wrong to put all of the blame on Will Still for this one, and maybe that's because I picked them to go up as champions.
Well, going up as champions is one thing, but they are on Betfred now 20-1 to go down. Is this a slight possibility for you, Gab? Obviously, they're long odds, but the form has not been good.
It's a very strange Championship season, I find, Simon, because if we look at the Championship table at the moment, lots of the teams that are down there, other than Sheffield Wednesday, who are bottom, which everyone predicted for the season, you've got Norwich down there, Sheffield United and Southampton, and then even Blackburn going up to 19th, who missed out on the playoffs on the final day of last season, of course. So it does feel like it's going to be a high points tally required to stay up this season, and possibly a low points total required to make the playoffs, a little bit like last year, perhaps. So I'm struggling to see lots of teams that I'm absolutely certain are going to be down there. I think that I do think Southampton have enough, certainly, to keep themselves in mid-table at least. But
it's hard to pick a three, though, going down at the minute, isn't it?
It is.
Really
I'm really struggling with that. And same with the playoffs as well. It feels like we've got a quarter of the way through, Conor, doesn't it? And there's more questions than answers.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's... I wonder what... You know, I wonder if there's a couple of statistics leading us to, you know, all three demoted sides from the Premier League. I wonder what this is.
Demoted? That's a very American phrase.
It's a very American league now, isn't it? But, who then don't finish in the top six. I wonder, you know, what the statistic is. Has that ever happened before? I'm not sure. But it is a crazy league, but it's a brilliant league, isn't it? That's why we love it.
How many points are Southampton off the playoffs right now, Gab?
Southampton are 10 points off the playoffs, so they could put a run together, and it doesn't take much if things start to click.
Do you think Carrick would be a good appointment? Who would you be looking at if you're Southampton with that calibre of play, those profiles?
What I like about Michael Carrick is that I do think that he's a very good in-possession coach, and I think he's somebody who got Middlesbrough on that consistent 1.6 to 1.8 points per game mark over 2.5 seasons, and I do think that Southampton could do with that kind of stability as well as some of those developmental qualities. I also feel like with Carrick he probably needs an assistant, a little bit like we've spoken about with Will Still. You need an assistant who's good in areas where you're not.
Not Woodgate.
So I think with Carrick, I think he needs more of a disciplinarian, perhaps, maybe an out-of-possession coach to assist him to get that balance right. But he'd certainly be a big candidate.
I think as well it's big to look at if you were, and it sounds like we're touting him for the job here, but if you were to bring Carrick in there, it's important as well that you've got those ball-playing centre-backs, which Southampton do at this moment in time. Nathan Wood, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, really important.
Harwood-Bellis, I mean, playing for England, wasn't he? So got him at the bottom of the Championship.
You've got to be licking your lips if you're a manager out of work and you're looking at this job. You can't get any worse than Southampton are right now in the table, and they're underperforming their XG so much. You could get this right quite easily. Looking at some of the other names in the frame, by the way, right now, Graham Bailey reports that Frank Lampard has been first choice for this job. Keep an eye on Mark Robbins, Lee Carsley and Gary O'Neill, linked with the Wolves return as well. Gary O'Neill, of course. If Frank Lampard leaves Coventry to go to Southampton, I will eat a trifle of your making, Conor, live on this show. You put whatever you want in it. It's simply not happening. And I wonder with those first two names, Gab, I'm concerned once again about the Sport Republic's recruitment strategy for a manager, where they might just be looking at the Championship table as it stands now and going, oh, Mark Robbins is doing a good job at Stoke, Frank Lampard's doing a good job at Coventry, where there's not really any realism of bringing either of them to the club.
Yeah, I think it's a club that's been very questionable in the way that it's recruited. I think Southampton need to establish a real identity again, and I think that's been a question mark for them. So yeah, I think that they've got to make sure that they get this appointment right. But yeah, it's more than just looking at the league table. But the other thing I would worry about is if they went for Lampard, would they waste time, valuable time, chasing someone that's unrealistic as opposed to getting in somebody who's... I think they should have gone for Danny Röhl in the summer, personally. I look at the job he's doing at Rangers at the moment, and I think maybe that was a missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity for sure. A couple more names linked with returns to Southampton. Russell Martin, he'll be welcomed back by the Southampton players, apparently Conor and Ralph Hasenhüttl. Can you see either of those going back to St Mary's? Martin got them out of the Championship last time.
He did, yeah, he did. It's going to be a major turnaround for him. I think Martin needs a summer, notoriously. I think that's going to be massive, like him going in. And if I was Martin, I wouldn't go back in there right now. I think his time was served. I don't know if it's going to be... You see it with David Moyes in the Premier League going back to Everton, of course, and that being a reasonable success so far. Don't know about you, Gab. I wouldn't be that sure on Martin going back there.
I think it's quite common sometimes for managers that have had a really difficult sort of 18 months or so, been sacked by a couple of jobs, to sort of like rush back in and say, look at me, I'm good enough and I'm going to go straight back in. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of ego there. I'm not saying that's always the case, but I think sometimes when they've got an ego that's bruised, it's like, I want to prove. And actually sometimes, cool your jets, learn a few lessons, take some stock to reflect on things. What have I done right in my career so far? What are the mistakes that I've made more recently? What can I learn from other cultures and other environments and improve myself as a manager? Time out of work can be more valuable from managerial development than actually time in work. Because when you're in work, you're doing the Saturday, Tuesday grind. At work, you can actually learn real lessons that you can take forward. I think that's what Ross Martin needs.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's been linked as well with the Norwich job naturally, and there's a connection there between Martin and Norwich. I think what Gab said is absolutely spot on. I think Eddie Howe's spoken about it, Lee Carsey's spoken about it. Going away, learning and watching the game in different countries, taking time out of the game and really sort of developing on yourself as a manager. I think that's really important for Russell Martin right now. I think it was quite interesting as well how... just tangenting a little bit, how Steven Gerrard rejected the Rangers job as well because he felt it wasn't quite right for him, and I think he's thinking something quite similar.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's finish off this Southampton chat with who is your pick for the Southampton job at the moment? Someone you've pushed quite heavily, I presume, Conor?
Yeah, unanimous. I think a lot of the profiles work. I need to see Fellows back in that side as well. I think that gives Southampton something a little bit different. Finn has been there as well. The ball-playing centre-backs, as I've mentioned, I think there's a lot of profiles in that Southampton team that fit Michael Carrick, and I think right now that is probably the only name from a logistical standpoint of which if I was a Southampton fan I'd look at and think that might work transitionally right now.
I would go all out, and I don't even know if it's doable, to try and get
Lampard.
Lee Carsley.
Oh,
Lee Carsley. I think I want to see him in club football. I know he's had massive success with the under-21s, but that senior England job is Frank Lampard's, of course, and he won it, Conor, not Carsley's.
Bit of a risk.
Bit of a risk, but I think he would like a championship job eventually. I think this is a good fit, and as I say, it's not a hard job. Talking of Lampard took Cov from 17th into the playoffs. It could very easily happen this season with Southampton. I'll put my hat in the ring of Lee Carsley's. Go on, Gab.
I'm going to go with Michael Carrick because I did like the potential he showed at Middlesbrough. Hopefully he's taken a bit of time out. I like managers that have had a bit of time out of the game to sort of take in different games. So, I think Carrick, but I hope he's learned a few lessons from what he did right at Middlesbrough and maybe some of those sort of imbalances that hopefully maybe he'll be better for in his next job.
Absolutely. On Friday, by the way, we're going to do our Sportsman Extra show, and we're going to discuss who we think is going to finish in the top 6 this season and who might drop out. Talking of a top 6 team, Gab, Preston got the win at Southampton. They're absolutely flying right now, 7-1 to finish in the top 6 as we speak. They are doing a lot of things right this season, and they were very efficient in front of goal.
They certainly were. I think with Preston North End, it's all about recruitment. Because although they didn't lose that many games under Heckingbottom, they did finish last season quite poorly, and Heckingbottom was went quite hard on his players. In one of the games at the end of last season when it got to the final day, didn't it? That they needed to stay up on the final day. And I think, but I look at the recruitment since then. They brought in Odell Fire, who was very good up the road at Blackpool last season. They brought in Alfie Devine, who's a really exciting player who's already had some minutes in the EFL in his career and looks to be on the right direction. Harrison Armstrong, who was brilliant at Derby in the second half of last season, very dynamic midfielder. Lewis Dobbin, who I think Norwich are regretting not going for in the summer. They recruited really well, and I think that's been
Ben Whiteman as well.
Ben Whiteman, absolutely, as more of a longer-serving midfielder. So, well done to Preston North End.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye on their hopes moving forward. Another manager we have to talk about, though, is Liam Manning. Conor, we discussed him a bit last week, but things are just getting worse at Norwich. 6 home defeats now in a row. There was a bit of a protest outside of the director's box. There were tennis balls, a handful of them anyway, on the pitch. Winless since August the 30th. But they seem to be sticking by him.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think he's got the worst record for a Norwich manager in this period of time since 1920. So that's probably sackable in itself. But we've just spoke about Sport Republic at Southampton, and it's very similar with the Atanasios at Norwich. And he came out, Mark Atanasio did a interview, I believe, with the Norwich broadcasters down there, and he was talking about what he expects, who he believes in, and he was talking obviously about where he thinks Norwich will end up. And it was just a little bit of an interview, and I listened to it in midweek just for a little bit of preparation. I thought his finger maybe isn't on the button with actually what's going wrong here. Zoe Webber, I think there's a lot on her in terms of the structure at Norwich. Ben Napper with the recruitment. They've spent a lot of money this season. I think it's around about 55 million quid. That has to come to the fore at some point. So the fish rots from the head down, doesn't it, as well? That's what we're talking about with Sport Republic, with Southampton and the issues at the top level there. I think at this moment in time, the top brass at Norwich are very lucky to still be in jobs. I think the priority of keeping Liam Manning in the job at this moment in time feels bizarre. The second halves under Liam Manning have been atrocious, which I think is quite a damning indictment when you look at a team coming in. I mean, look at Hull at the weekend. They were good against Hull. They created chances. Go in, half time, second half, they come out, they melt, and that has been symptomatic of Norwich this season. The problems off the pitch when he's been, Atanasio was going on about stadium expansions, supporters are being moved out of seats at the River End, I believe, and then you've got the worst optic ever, Núñez being sold, which they could have stopped, really, because they're a pretty rich club at this moment in time, Norwich, it feels like, anyway, with what you read and believe around the club. Núñez being sold, didn't have to be sold, which Atanasio effectively said in this interview. Goes to Ipswich, scores a couple at the weekend, and they all love him there, and he had a big impact in the derby. It's chaos off the pitch, and it's chaos on the pitch at Norwich.
It's such a strange club because they were so well run under Delia Smith and that family essentially for so long, and they were careful with their money. They went up to the Premier League.
Michael Wynne-Jones as well.
That's it. And they were so careful and so well run. And it felt like this change in ownership was a chance for them to kick off and finally see a bit more investment. And it's just backfired right now.
Well, I think Mark Atanasio can still be a catalyst for change at Norwich City. I still maintain that him taking over is a good thing for the club, but that doesn't mean that mistakes haven't been made under his ownership regime, bearing in mind he spent a lot of time out of the country, and you can't say Norwich haven't spent money under Atanasio. They've kept hold of their best players. They've spent £55 million in the last year or so. So the money has been spent and the intentions are there. Where I would look at it, when I saw Liam Manning's interview after the defeat to Hull, he said there's a few things wrong, and Chris Gorham, the local commentator, said, "What's wrong, Liam? What do you think's the problem?" And he didn't expand on that in words, but he sort of gave a kind of wry smile, which sometimes suggests that managers have an answer to the question that they wouldn't say publicly, but they think behind the scenes. And so I think that he has issues with Ben Napper. I think he spoke about the second half where he saw things that he's not seen in his management from certain players, that he mentioned that he had worked in League One. And again, I think it comes back to an implicit criticism of the recruitment and of Ben Napper. And I actually think there's a fair argument that both need to go when the results are this bad. I don't know when anyone's lost in the Championship their first 7 home games in the league. But I actually think Napa needs to go, possibly even more so than Manning.
Well, I thought there was a bit of a project in with Johannes. I thought there was a big project there. I believe Napa brought him in, didn't he? And then they got rid of him. I thought it was a bit soon, because it's always based on, it's the project at Norwich, isn't it? And it's a bit of a process, and you believe in that project with Johannes. If Napa now gets rid of Liam Manning, Napa is effectively sacking himself, because it's Johannes gone, Manning coming in, he's effectively sacking himself.
Yeah,
that's a massive problem. And maybe when Mark Atanasio was coming over this week, he was saying, look, there is an end point with this, and exactly like you've said, I think he will be good for them long term. We already know that he's going to put his hand in his pocket. He's got deep pockets as well. You could expect them to go in January again.
They will.
And there's players there that can make a difference. But as I've said, the fish rots from the head down. It feels like right now Zoe Webber and obviously Ben Napa are massively failing, and ultimately Liam Manning is struggling to get the best out of the side. It's a huge problems at Norwich, and you do fear for them a little bit this season, because like you've just said, the Championship is so unpredictable. Who knows?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Norwich. Credit to Hull, by the way, who have got another win on the board. We should probably talk a bit about the weekend action now we've gone through Southampton and Norwich, their managerial issues. Because, Gab, we saw 3 hat-tricks this weekend, loads and loads and loads of goals, and apparently we have to start on Friday night, where Wrexham ended Coventry's unbeaten run. If you want to talk about that, I'm not bothered.
I think Kieffer Moore has been the most influential and important centre-forward in the last 10 years of Championship football to his teams, because it's ironic, because when he's played for the better teams in the Championship, like Bournemouth, who won promotion under Scott Parker, and Chris Wilde, and Sheffield United, who just missed out last season, he's been more of a supporting cast. But when he's played for underdogs, I'd use Cardiff as an example. Barnsley, exactly. He's had such a transformative impact, because he's not only got those traditional target man qualities that we could list, but also that selfless mobility. So any kind of service towards him, any kind of ball, he can make it work and bring everyone else into play. And of course at Wrexham he has other good players around him. Josh Windass has been fantastic this season.
Hat-trick of assists.
Absolutely, so well done to Josh Windass as well. But I think for me it's Kieffer Moore and that threat that he provides that really turns an average team into a good one.
Yeah, credit to Wrexham massively. It felt like on the night, Conor, that something was brewing, especially for me, seeing 3 changes out of that back 4 at Coventry, and they just kind of fell apart in the second half a little bit.
Yeah, I thought, look, we can talk about Kieffer Moore, we can, but Kieffer Moore absolutely bullied Wolfenden for the entire game. I think when you're coming up against someone like Kieffer Moore, Bobby Thomas would have been perfect. It felt like, anyway, at least marshalling him a little bit. I thought he was pinning Wolfenden. He was aggressive. Now, when I do look at Cov in that game, I'd take massive plaudits from, again, the performance of Sakamoto. Outrageous player, so good, tireless, and I'll be honest with you, it looked like he was going to be the only impact for Cov on the night. Kabore as well for Wrexham. I thought in that second half on that right hand side he was excellent, and obviously that really helped with the combination sequence play with Kieffer Moore. But still positive for Cov. I feel it was always going to happen at some stage.
I did want to touch on Sakamoto actually, Simon, because one thing that stands out to me is that if you look at Coventry's other forwards, Ephron Mason-Clark, Hadji Wright, Brandon Thomas-Asante, they're all forwards that like to stretch the line, don't they? And what I like about Sakamoto is that he's one who can almost drift into those little pockets of space and deliver those moments of quality that just gives a bit of balance to your attack, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his both-footedness is massively helpful on that right wing, as you mentioned, cutting inside or going outside. There's a thing running that he may not be as good away from home as at home, which is an interesting one given his physicality, and we were playing quite a lot of long balls to him. But against Wrexham, it's probably the best we've seen him there. He did a back heel nutmeg as well on that right wing at one point, which was just obscene. And obviously the goal at the end as well, I think he fully deserved it. He's massive given the lack of options in terms of another natural right winger. If he's injured, it's probably Thomas Asante playing on that right hand side, which we did see a few weeks ago. it's interesting with Cov because we've done really well in terms of results lately, but the performances against Watford, we were a bit exposed. Blackburn again, and it's because Brandon Thomas-Asante is playing that number 10 role and he scores a lot of goals, but he doesn't really help out the midfield. So we end up in a kind of 4-2-4 shape with Thomas-Asante and Hadji right up front together, and Jamie Allen and Matt Grimes in midfield. Unfortunately, got a bit overrun at Wrexham, and we need Rodoni back and we need Victor Torp back, and hopefully things will be steady.
Is this the first time, Simon, that we're questioning Coventry from a squad depth point of view? Don't want to overreact to one defeat because I'm very confident Frank Lampard's got it all in hand. But previously, when I've kind of raised the squad depth issue, a lot of Coventry fans have sort of accepted that as a question mark. Some of them have said, yes, but we got a big win without 4 of our best players, and there's this sort of argument that you've been able to find solutions previously. Was that performance at Wrexham without De Silva, without Bobby Thomas, without Rodoni, does that sort of raise the one sort of doubt in your mind?
Yeah, we spoke about it over the summer, and it's always a little slight issue, but I think if you take 5 starters out of any team in the Championship, you will see a drop off in performance. And when we had Van Avaak, Thomas, De Silva was too ill to start, Torp and Rodoni, I think if you take them out of most teams in the Championship, you'll see a drop off. So be interesting to see the response against Sheffield United at home when a few of those players are back involved, and we'll go from there. Hopefully it won't be a start of a losing run after such a good start to the season, but a little blip.
Big January ahead, hopefully.
Big January, hopefully we're in a good position. We'll see a bit more investment. I want to talk about Stoke City because there was another hat-trick on the cards. Mobaba has done very well to score a hat-trick. Beat Bristol City 5-1, 5 shots on target, Conor. Mark Robins, he's absolutely flying with Stoke.
He is, yeah. I think they've scored 5 goals in 9 before this as well. So scoring 5 in one game was very impressive. Junior was excellent. I thought Mabama was very good again. They just look powerful going forward. Still worry about them a little bit on the other side on the counter-attack, on the transition. I felt there was elements where Bristol City could have hurt them. But I think going forward, they look as good as any team in the Championship at this moment in time. So overall, I'm kind of looking at it right now. Let's look at it from a general perspective as well. Stoke have had mercenaries in that squad for years. I think getting someone like Mark Robins in, he's probably been their best manager in a long time. They're loving life under him, and it's good to see Stoke really consolidating themselves as one of the better sides in the Championship, because that's what they've promised for so many years now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a real step up, as Conor alluded to, from Robins in terms of getting this squad from where they were to where they are now. And he's a manager that just has a proven track record at Championship level. But this squad, as Conor says, it looks really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're starting to see Stoke City's long-term investments come home to bear fruit from 2023, because I think they invested in something like 20-odd signings that summer, and it was a lot of, and some of them didn't quite work out, but now we're seeing players like Junior Chamadou, who Conor mentioned. I thought he took his goal superbly.
It's so good. One of my favourite goals this season, honestly.
Such a satisfying, and it's great to see that Junior Chamadou after coming through at Colchester as a youngster.
And the Million Manhoff goal as well. There's a lot of individual talent.
I broke your finger.
I'm so enjoying Million Manhoff. I broke my finger there. But I love his agility. He can go either way. He's such a skillful player. So you've got that beautiful blend of Manhoff's skill and Chamadou powering forward on the overlap. That's a lovely area of this Stoke City side. And I think Conor's right. They come forward. They're the kind of team that they don't need to come forward that often because they look like they can score any time they do. And that's a quality that I'm really enjoying about Stoke City at the moment.
Very exciting stuff there. A bit of a blip for Bristol City at the minute. But I want to talk about Derby County because John Eustace has just flicked a switch and got things moving for them. And their 3-1 win at Sheffield United, and Carlton Morris with another hat-trick, the third of the weekend.
Yeah, was it the second when the half-time music was still playing? Oh.
You fill up my senses.
Morris!
As he runs through and scores a goal. The way they wasted that ball from kick-off is just remarkable.
Yeah, never play that music again, especially at half-time. But yeah, it's once again, I'm sure we'll talk about Sheffield United, but you've got to give Eustace his props for this. I believe it's 3 wins in 5, and he just keeps up this almost understanding that when he goes away to the good sides in the division, a John Eustace side is a nightmare to come up against, from Birmingham to Blackburn to Derby County. Just really impressed. Carlton Morris and we've spoken about Kieffer Moore at Barnsley, etc. But from when he was at Barnsley, he just develops and develops and develops. Luton, I thought he was definitely one of their better players, of course. He's a battering ram, isn't he? Excuse the pun. But yeah.
It's good, that.
Yeah, that's quite good, isn't it?
Bad, yeah.
Do you like that as well? There you go, Rams.
Took me a while. But
But yeah, really impressive. Not much to say, but good to see Derby on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, set pieces were really key in this one, Gab. I think the first Kieffer Moore goal was a good header from a corner. I think he nearly tapped in at the back post from the corner a few minutes later, and that's just Eustace, a real key point from him. And then a bit of a controversial penalty for the third, but we'll brush over that one and give Derby their credit.
Absolutely. I think the key for me with Carlton Morris is he needs a more mobile striker alongside him, because I've seen Carlton Morris either when he plays on his own up top or alongside another centre forward of a similar profile, like Elijah Adebayo, for instance, with Luton early on last season. I think he can struggle. Whereas now Patrick Agyemang, which was Derby's big summer investment, is back fit. And I think injuries easing has made a big difference for Derby County, because they were very hit in that department initially. They only took 7 points from their first 8 games, whereas as opposed to 10 points from the last 5 through straight wins. So they're definitely heading in the right direction. And I'm going to call it, Simon. Could Derby County be playoff candidates on this kind of...
I was very excited about them before the season started, and I've had to be quite quiet about them at the start of this season, but now they're rocking and rolling.
I think there's room for a late runner this year.
Absolutely.
I think Derby could be the one.
I think it's absolutely wide open. And we'll find out. And we'll find out more about your playoff picks on Friday on the Sportsman titled Extra, so stay tuned for that one. But Sheffield United, we keep talking about them. They keep losing games. And there was a comment from Chris Wilder I want to touch on, because after the game he said, we have to play a certain way because we don't have a number 9, which is a very interesting thing for a manager to say who bought Tom Cannon last season for 10 million quid, who has Danny Ings and Tyrese Campbell at the club.
Yeah, Campbell's really struggling, I think, at this moment in time. And
can I just jump in, by the way? Do you think when he says that, he means, I don't have Kieffer Moore, I don't have Ollie McBurney, that type of number 9?
Yeah, potentially, and he's made no bones about it, has he? McBurney, he wanted them to go for, basically, in the summer, and obviously it looked like, from what you're reading, Ruben Sayers turned that opportunity down. He's now at Hull doing a tremendous job. Obviously with Joe Gelhardt up front, seems to be really working for Hull. They've now lost as many games as they did last season, which is a very damning statistic for Sheffield United. Obviously, with how well they did last season, it feels like how to ruin a squad in the summer is now a full sighting. I question the battlers in the side, the ones who are really going to dig in, grit, determination. I don't know if they ever replaced Ahmed Hodzic, really. I don't know if someone like Mark McGuinness coming in as that replacement is a top calibre sort of level of which Ahmed Hodzic is. Vinny Souza, we will continue coming back to Vinny Souza over and over and over again. The athleticism, the physicality, the ball winning skills he had in that midfield. Sidney Peck in there, I feel, needs that protection. I would maybe say when Ollie Arblaster's back, that could help. Tom Davis is still there, but how fit is Tom Davis throughout the season? He's never available.
Gus Harmer's injured for 6 weeks,
Gus Harmer,
which is just...
It's kind of helped Callum O'Hare, because I think O'Hare's really come to the fore. I think O'Hare looks really good at this moment in time.
He's having a good individual season, even though Sheffield United have been awful collectively. O'Hare's the one that's...
But you just mentioned him earlier, and I know Wilder's normally a really good man manager as well, isn't he? But coming out and saying they don't have a number 9 is very, very damning on someone like Tom Cannon. The new United board who've come in, I'm really questioning what they've got right so far. Really questioning what they've got right so far. Obviously, we're seeing loads of Bulgarian acquisitions in the summer with this new data thing, and then we're seeing 2 Luton players come in Mark McGuinness and Tahith Chong, who've been relegated with Luton. You're seeing Jaffet Tanganga come in, you're thinking brilliant. You're seeing Ben Godfrey come in, and you're seeing brilliant. But then you're kind of looking at the effects, and you're thinking maybe the blend of recruitment wasn't right. In hindsight, it's 2020, isn't it? But I don't know what they've got right so far. I think we do have to look at Chris Wilder as well. I'm looking at the subs at the weekend. I'm seeing Matos coming on at right back. I'm seeing One come on for Brooks. Questionable.
Well, just on right back, I think that's an issue for Sheffield United because last season they had consistent performers in that area, Gilchrist, Clark. They're having to play Japhet Tanganga there in a sort of slightly lopsided role. I think it's a common misconception that if you're a quick centre-half, you can play right back or left back if you're left-footed. And actually, you're just a centre-half that happens to be quick. And I think that's the case with Tanganga. I don't think he's a right back. I think he's a really good centre-half. But this is the situation that Sheffield United have left themselves in because they've not recruited properly in the summer, and I think that's coming home to roost now.
Do you think they've got 9 points from 13? How many points do you think they'd have if they left Ruben Sellers in charge?
Less, I think.
Just less. So we can go. You think less?
Yeah, I mean
they were bad,
and they've got. It's not like they've lost all 5, is it?
No.
They've got 2 wins. They had 2 wins, didn't they, in that 5? And you thought after that second win they were going to start building again.
I thought so, and then went 2-0 up at Preston on Pens.
2-0 up, yeah.
Could this be the?
So they won't go down.
No,
they obviously won't go down, but it's a real shame that we're looking at Sheffield United now in this second season, and it's not got to that point of which you're at least gunning for the playoffs with Chris Wilder.
Yeah.
It has been a summer and a period of time of which Sheffield United have got it so wrong, and I think the fans have been massively frustrated by how it's been managed over the summer.
Absolutely. I want a quick word from you, Gab, by the way, because Birmingham City were rocking and rolling this weekend. 4-0 win over Portsmouth. A bit of a turning point quickly on Birmingham?
Yeah, absolutely. I think well done to Chris Davis. I think he's done a wonderful job for us. I do have question marks around our recruitment in the summer because I think it was very contact-led rather than super analytical, and I actually think we need a rethink in terms of the upstairs, the recruitment side. Not quite sure whether Craig Gardner is up to the level that we need. So I think that needs to be looked at. But I actually think Chris Davis is doing really well with what he's got. And I wanted to pick out Tomoki Iwata, actually, because last season he was our metronomic number 6, the one who kept the ball, popped the ball around at the base of midfield and allowed Paik Sanghae to sort of float. This season, because of issues we've had at right back, he's actually moved there. And it caught me out a little bit by surprise, but he was unbelievable in that 4-0 thumping of Portsmouth, linking up really nicely with Patrick Roberts, of course. And I think Jay Stansfield's starting to find form as well. We've kind of questioned whether Sano has the sort of hold-up play and the link-up play in those tight spaces to sort of be that number 9, but certainly a really impressive display from him on Saturday, moving in the right direction, Birmingham City.
Absolutely. And Conor, I want you to touch on 2 results we saw as well, because there was a big win for Ipswich and a big defeat for Leicester from 2 of the relegated teams too.
Yeah, and Blackburn aren't exactly a team of which, I mean, as a Leicester City side, you've got to be targeting that. It was a dire performance from Leicester. Blackburn, yeah, plucky, diligent in the game, but it's. I don't know if I worry for Leicester as much, but it's one of those things. I do look at the calibre of player once again. This is what we're speaking about with Southampton. This is what we're speaking about with Ipswich at points. But it feels like they're finding the feet a little bit now. I just look at the individuals again.
Well, this is the thing with Leicester because they got a lot of results early in the season, and it was Jeremy Monga creating something out of nothing. It was Fatawu coming up with a brilliant, fiery strike from outside the box. Can a strike be fiery? Is that the word?
Yeah, definitely can.
Fiery strike. He fired it in, I suppose. But maybe. But it never really felt like they were creating chances organically. It always felt like individuals. And I suppose I think we were often sort of struggling with that dilemma, weren't we, in terms of, well, we were asking the same questions of Burnley earlier in the season last year, and we thought, is this sustainable because their numbers are quite low? And actually the individual quality in the organisation carried them through. Whereas I think with Leicester City, I'm wondering whether it's proving to be a little bit different with that now that they've got 17 points from their first 13 games. I imagine they will climb the table, but whether it'd be enough to finish in the top 6, I'm not sure now.
I think just on Ipswich, big 4-1 win away at QPR this weekend, I think they are going to start really rocking up the points. And I think there's 2 games against Coventry in December, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're on a similar number of points as Coventry by the time those games come around, and they're going to be really crucial.
I think what Ipswich have done is they've started to find the best team and not just the best 11 players, because early in the season they were trying to shoehorn players in, for instance Clark, Akpom, Philogene, And actually, the dynamic of the team wasn't great, because what got Ipswich Town to the Premier League was the synergy, the relationships, the combinations. So, for instance, I think individually, Chuba Akpom might be a better number 10, more productive number 10 than Marcelino Nunes, even though Nunes got a couple of goals at the weekend, but Nunes links in with the midfield, whereas Akpom would be like another forward. I think on the right hand side, Egley is a better combination if you've got Philogene on the left. Egley provides better balance. Jack Taylor, for instance, I think isn't as good as an individual midfielder as Jens Kajist, but he complements Matusu better. So again, the balance of the team looks a lot better. So I predict Ipswich Town are going to put together a winning run, and I think they're going to shoot into automatic promotion.
Something just to end on as well, just having a quick look there. They've got to improve that away form though. Second bottom in the Championship at the moment.
Yeah, and Watford top of the home form table and bottom of the away form table, which is quite the disparity in that. Right, I've got a quick quiz question for you both. God. I want you to name this manager. Conor, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to give you clues. They start hard and get easier and easier. So clue number 1, guess this manager. In my managerial career, I've managed 425 second tier games, including the playoffs. You can pass if you want the next clue. I need to hide this shit. Clue 2, I have managed 12 different clubs, 8 of which have been in the second tier.
You got it.
I've got a possibility.
I'm coming to you, so you hold your horses. Clue 3 is a big clue. I've managed 2 sets of rival clubs.
Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
Steve Bruce.
Go on clue number 3. I didn't even get to how's the bacon, did you say? What a Conor. Right, Gab, on to you, because producer Seb's telling me I'm running out of time. In my managerial career, I've managed 137 second-tier matches. I think this one's a lot harder. In fact, I haven't even got the answer down, so I'm really relying on you.
It's not that. I've got this already.
My first taste of management came in the 2005-06 season. Clue 3 is I've managed 9 different clubs, 4 of which have been in the Championship.
Oh, God, this is easy. Come on.
Seb, I'm hoping you've got the answer for this one, by the way.
It's a Championship, so 2005. Did they say it was a playoff final in 2005 or 2005-06? Because that was Watford against Leeds, wasn't it? In the when Marlowe. Is it A.D. Boothroyd?
No, it's not A.D. Boothroyd. I have managed. Oh, sorry. I never played for an English club during my playing career. However, I did play against Blackburn, Liverpool, and Man United.
So, Yondal Thomason?
No. Oh, not. Next clue. I have managed 1 set of rival clubs.
1 set of rival clubs. Okay.
Next clue.
You got them.
I have managed clubs in all 4 of England's top 4 tiers, Premier League down to League 2.
Mark Hughes. No, because he played in England.
Cool.
This is embarrassing.
My most recent managerial role was in the east of England and ended in 2021.
2021. So east of England. So that's Norwich. So that's Daniel Farker. Okay, so it's not Daniel Farker. Ipswich, Mick McCarthy. It's not going to be here because he played it. So east of England. So Newcastle. Rafa Benitez.
Do you want another clue?
Go on then.
In the Premier League era, I was the first non-English manager to win back-to-back promotions from the 3rd tier to the Premier League.
Paul Lambert!
Come on!
Yes! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Got it. So Conor, I think you win that one, mate.
I thought when you said 2021, I thought you meant Paul Lambert left the Eastern Club.
Oh, it's all excuses, Gab. I don't want to hear it. Right, we better do some match previews. Before we do them, though, we need fans from Stoke, Millwall, Charlton, Hull, Leicester and Preston. Get in touch in the comments down below because you could feature on this show. We'll get Seb to send you an email. And perhaps you can be sitting in one of these 2 seats. But we need to do a few midweek match previews, and it's Ipswich versus Watford on Tuesday. And we've just talked about the home form, away form, Conor. But Watford are looking much improved under old Xavi Gracia.
Yeah, they are looking. They're looking good. I absolutely love the midfield. Imran Louza as well. He's getting back to his best again. 5 goals in 10.
He's one of the best in the Championship.
Yeah,
he's unbelievable.
He's a fantastic midfielder. He's got everything. Definitely a Premier League player in my opinion. Are we doing predictions straight off the bat?
Yeah, let's rattle through them.
Okay, I think Ipswich, we've spoken about that before, just building and building and building. Home form, 3rd in the division. Watford, bottom of the division when it comes to away form. Ipswich win for me.
Score?
3-1.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 Ipswich win. I think it's going to be a very close game, though.
I'm going to go 3-1 to Ipswich. I'm going to be boring and copy Conor.
Conor?
Is that allowed?
I don't think that's allowed, but whatever. We'll let him get away with it. Also on Tuesday, Gab, coming to you first for Leicester versus Middlesbrough. Borough, obviously big defeat at the weekend, losing away a little bit. Leicester lost their last 3, looking pretty bad right now.
I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. I feel like neither team's in a very good position at the moment, and I don't see either side winning.
What do Leicester need to turn their season around?
I think they, for me, they took off Jordan James against Blackburn on Saturday, and I think they should have taken off Samare to put on Bobby Reid. So I think they need an extra creative player. I don't think Winks and Samare offers enough creativity, and I don't think I like Jordan James, and I think he was probably created the bulk of their chances, but I don't think he's technical enough to justify that kind of free reign type thing. So I would have Winks at the base of midfield, I would have Jordan James maybe in a kind of dynamic 8 role, and I would have Bobby Reid there. So I think that's the twin.
Obviously, as a Coventry fan, and Borough just being behind you right now, obviously, after the weekend and all this sort of stuff. Are you thinking to yourself that Borough can maintain this? I look at Cov, and we were just talking about the depth of Cov as well, and going again in January. I think Cov will be able to maintain this. I think there's a real question about Borough right now, and they're sort of losing their way a little bit.
I'm still in the position where I'll probably take Southampton out of it, but I'm still more concerned about the parachute payment teams than the rest of the teams in the top 6. I think Ipswich are going to fly up the table and be real contenders for promotion. Leicester, I'm doubtful of. Borough, I think, will maybe finish in the top 6, but I don't think they'll keep the pace we've seen. I do think, though, they will edge this game. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Borough win because I trust them more than I trust Leicester right now.
This would be damning for Leicester. This would be a 4th loss on the bounce.
Cifuentes would be under massive pressure.
Huge pressure. Because once again, it's still a very decent squad at Championship level, isn't it? 1-1 for me.
1-1, and we will finish Sheffield Wednesday versus Norwich. My word, Sheffield Wednesday, can they do it and get a win on the board here against a Norwich team that can't find anything right now, Gab?
This is great. What a game.
I think at Hillsborough now the club's a bit more in touch with its fan base, and some changes have been made, and the Chansiri's gone, and the administrators are running things. I think it's different to early in the season when home games were fans protesting or staying away. So I think there's going to be a really raucous atmosphere at Hillsborough. I'm going to back Sheffield Wednesday to get a 1-0 victory.
Oh my word, I think I'm on the same page. I think it's going to be nearly a sellout at Hillsborough as well. Massive difference. The club feels different even though they're in administration. I'm going to go for 2-0 Wednesday win. Come on, Wednesday.
No. Reality is going to still be, I think it's going to still strike Sheffield Wednesday here. I get what's going on with Liam Manning. I understand, and Norwich fans are probably going to be berating me in the comment section here. I think Sheffield Wednesday is a much different task to what they've come up against. I think Wednesday are poor. They
did all right the weekend. Good draw at West Brom.
Yeah, they did all right.
Competitive.
Yeah, they did. But then you look at once again, I think there's enough encouragement from that Norwich first half. And I know we've been speaking about Liam Manning. I think long term there is massive issues there. But I do think they've got more than enough to be able to put away the Sheffield Wednesday side. They've not got a bad away form as well this season. They're 14th, Norwich. Sheffield Wednesday are terrible at home as well. I'm going to go with the Sheffield Wednesday 0, Norwich 2. Put the cat amongst the pigeons.
That'll be very interesting indeed. I think
put the canary amongst the owls.
And that is what a line to finish on. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. Who should replace Will Still at Southampton? We'll be back on Friday for the Sportsman Extra, where we're going to discuss who we think is going to finish in the top 6. See you then.